Games. Okay. Idiot. Hello. Canny, thank you very much. 20 months. I appreciate that very much. Hope you are well today. I was lurking in your stream yesterday. I didn't get to chat much. How was the stream? Ad break ends in 1 minute 57. Oof. Okay. Oh, tell me. A bit quiet again. Change nothing. Hold on. Oh, stupid mic on. Filters. How's that? That should be a little better. Hey, Apex, how you doing? Let's make that 14. Okay. Huh. Okay. Well, microphones, audio, it's all the pain in the backside. Sleepy as well, but I'm doing okay. Doing okay. That's because that's all in game. Is that because of that? So, I tested my ability to aggressively refactor my code base. So far, it's not going stunning. 150 changes. Basically, what I did is I started moving things around to get to my query stuff. So basically, no, this is all my code. I'm not. AI is not. I've decided that AI is not going near my C# code for a long while. I will do the pieces that slow me down the most, which is the front end, and keep myself engaged with back end code. So what I had working was, so the CDC stuff I broke out obviously as a library, and all I've done right now is copy the DLL into there. I think I actually did open source. Did I actually get to this part? Develop. I think as CDC library repositories, CDC extensions. Yes, I did. Okay. I didn't reach back to that. 1 second. Work on SPOKS first 3 days of the week repairing my laptop, then figuring out that Java doesn't like Squarebase in the URI and Svelte likes it there, so reverse proxy makes boo boo. Gameware, they got the multiplayer stuff right again, right? Nice. Would be an interesting thing to try and refactor a largely AI code base. It would be a challenge. I don't know if I'm happy enough to as to what AI produces to let it build anything reasonable on the C# side, especially on projects that I actually care about. So my plan is with the Game Trove library, what I want to get to is the point where I'm happy that I can deploy it as a service and then I can move on, right? So right now I'm just kind of stuck in practicing some of these techniques and learning a little bit more about what my options are before I go back to Liquid Sky. I think post health issue stuff, 3 days a week for streaming works pretty well right now. And so it means I do have to be a bit more selective on things. You're not wrong in terms of an AI code base refactoring would be a good exercise, because I think that's coming for us all at some point, right? As we work on systems, we're going to find those code bases that were generated by people that didn't exactly know what they were doing. And that's going to be a challenge. I'd rather find one of those organically, though. I'd rather find some I don't have context of and use it as an exercise in in analysis and decomposition of the problem and refactor it that direction. I think that would be a more fun challenge. And Apex, thank you very much for 20 months as well. Wow, 2 of you at 20 months. That's incredible. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, what was I going to do with that? Oh yeah, I was going to push these changes here. So I think I had changes, shift to interface repository. That's not quite true, but yeah. Did I move this? I thought I moved this around. I thought I'd shifted. Oh yeah, I did. I did. Okay. So the CDC library I created is there. As always, if I do peripheral projects, I will open source them. I think those are helpful pieces to use. I do need to attach a license to that actually. Add file. Can you add a license after the fact? How do you do that? Create new file. There we go. Add file, create new file. Choose a license template. There we go. MIT. Submit. Frank, hello. How you doing? Good morning. Okay. Yep, that's added. Okay, so let's pull that. Update. Let's do that. Okay, so yeah, MIT license. That's perfect. So I created the CDC library, and I included it in Game Trove, and I basically, so the way that works now is I add the change monitoring. That includes here. It adds the monitoring option. It looks for the monitoring options. It adds the configuration. It creates the repositories, creates the service and starts running the service, right? And then in the code side, all I do is register handlers for the different tables that we're gonna handle, and this will cast it to this object. So what it pulls out of the database is what this is going to be mapped as, and now I can save that data. So the intent here is to create the view side of the database, right? From this thing. So that's why it's in query infrastructure services. So I'm going to create the query API so that the client just goes to the query endpoints. Now, where this is challenging is I also decided at the same time as doing this to make this a modular monolith. And instead of having all these different services, I would combine them, but also allow them to be different services. So I'm kind of experimenting at a large scale because I'm refactoring everything. I haven't even figured out what the query looks like yet, right? I haven't figured out how I'm going to store that data, whether I'm going to use Mongo or I'm going to use SQL. I'm not entirely sure. And also, I have things I accept in here. Like this can go into the SQL database and I'll put it in its own schema shortly. This goes into a database already, and right now it has the price charting components in it, but I'm going to split it out now. And I've changed everything at once, right? Because to me, this sort of refactoring is not best done as a small refactoring. It's best done as a kind of chaotic, throw everything up in the air and try and move it all around again. Now, if this was a production application, that would be incredibly stupid. There's no other word for it. It would be absolute insanity because the chaos that it would cause, the regressions it would cause, because I have no tester on this, right? The regressions it would cause would absolutely be unworth it. Not worth it. Unworth it. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. But on that refactoring topic, coming back around to that, I think finding someone else's code base that was generated just using AI and picking that up and seeing, okay, how would I change this? What patterns do I see? Would be an interesting challenge. Not someone who understands. Someone who's developed a code base without understanding systems like how to build, how to design, etc. Someone who's obviously got an idea of what they're building when they start out is different than someone who's starting out to try and produce something. So yeah, I think that would be the refactoring fun there. So one of the challenges of making this a modular monolith, and the benefit, by the way, would be that I'd be able to combine this API, this API, this API, and this API into one deployed API, this application API, which would then be able to allow me to push to Azure or something as one service with a couple of databases, rather than having 5 different services, right? So that's the benefit of doing it this way. But I also want the ability to split these out as services again, without costing myself. So there's some things that create problems here, and what you can see is here from keyed services. So if you do dependency injection, right, everything's I register the repository in price charting, in games, in IGDB. So how do I handle iRepository of game? Which context does it go to? So what I'm trying to figure out is what I want this style to be. So you can use, with the DI framework, you can use keyed services. So you can do add keyed scope, and it uses this key here. And that's what you, when you reference the repository, you can pull it out by that. I haven't experimented very much with this, though, if I'm honest. So I considered putting these in a global, a shared library. But I'm like, well, no, hold on, that's irresponsible because I don't need this key from any other component of the system. Near the repository is the most logical place, kind of. Probably in here is probably the more apt place. Is there a neat way of doing this though? can I do public static string key equals games db? Sort of that. It wants to do string interpolation. Static const? No, I don't want static there. But that would do that. But now how would that work? That wouldn't work there either. So because that's no longer an extension method, that would be application host builder extensions, yeah. So you can't have that. Also it's not on that one, it's yeah. Oftentimes when I'm doing this sort of code, I will experiment with a bunch of different things for readability, not for any other way. The problem is this isn't class constants, public, static, string, repository key. Yeah, let's try that for now. Oh, go away. Of course, Visual Basic has. Doesn't. Oh, application isn't going to reference infrastructure, is it? That's a. Oh. Have to have a library that's completely independent of everything else in there. That's the only way that works because I have to have something that's safe to reference from everything. Ugh. Not sure, but we'll find it. We'll find it. Okay, that works. That works. So I need that for dependency injection. It's kind of like a sub shared kernel, I suppose, if we're trying to stretch that to that extent. A lot of what I'm doing here, by the way, is experimenting. When I'm building projects that don't really have it's not that it doesn't have a value, but I'm not trying to build this to make a product. I'm not trying to build this to um uh um just to be productive. I'm trying to build this to be something that I care about, but also I think every project you make is an opportunity to learn something new. Doing the same thing you did last time, building the software in the same way you did last time is great. I'm not criticizing that, but you need to experiment with what you like, what you don't like, new techniques, new designs, new ways of doing things, new ways of naming things. Don't just follow the same path over and over again. When you find one that works, I mean that's perfectly fine. But we're always picking up new information. We're always picking up new inspiration from those around us, and I think it's a good time to do like building projects is the best way to practice development. Like people like, what should I do? How I want to learn development. What should I do? Write code. Write lots of code. Don't be afraid of getting the right answer. I think that holds us back in so many ways. Um, we're so focused on what is the right way. Const string key. What did I call it there? Again, repository key. IGDB. And this way, when I do these commands in Qcache request, if I inject that, I just do from keyed services, constants dot repository key. It includes Visual Basic by default, doesn't it? Yes. Yeah. These queries and stuff are not list platform, iPlatform service. Yes. Some of these are going to have to. Oh, wow. The coffee goes in your mouth. Okay. So let's see if it builds. I'm not a big fan of doing this way, right? But yeah. So let's do source prior charting dot shared. Again, the intent would be a shared library would be something that contains nothing but things that don't have behavior. In this case, it's data. Oh, little fly. Where you come from? I sit right by a window, and the window is not fully sealed. Unfortunately, there's an AC unit and stuff, and there's plants outside, so flies often do get in. Public const string repository key equals prior charting. Really? You're brave. Repository. Do I not do it in this one? Oh no, infrastructure. Here you go. This style of I've kind of mimicked this style recently of building these extensions, and I think it's working really well in this case because this composability of the application means that each component of the things that I add in that it can include has their own host builder extensions. So, oh, I want to add infrastructure. This knows about how to set itself up, so I can compose the application from the pieces without having to copy and paste configuration into the other things. And I think there's a great power in that. So now when I set this up, this becomes constants. I've got to remember to dot repository key. That is going to trip me up a lot, without a doubt. That is going to trip me up. Oh, keys, yeah, it's there. Okay. And now in the application, when we do the associate pricing, we have to do from keyed services Price, repository, constants. Dot repository key. And that gives us that. And then the same thing. Now, these services are generally kind of standalone, so they probably don't need the key, but the option's there for me. That's the key. That's the key. That's so funny. Go lie down, bud. Where's your sister taking up all the room? Okay. Let's run it. Let's see that it doesn't fail. Oh, yeah. Oh, unable to new game. Okay, because now they're keyed. Every time I use a repository, and I need to use the keys. That's the problem. So now each one of these is going to need the same thing. I'm going to have to do the keyed services. Add new game is going to require that. No. Why are you referencing IGDB first? Why are you not even offering me my own library? That's annoying. Games.shared is right there. Okay, well, let's include that one. Oh, import type game shared. Okay. It was right there. I don't. I dislike that with a passion, by the way. But I don't have much of an option if I want to achieve what I'm doing here. Right. So I do not like how cluttered that makes that method, that signature. I think it hurts readability, but there's no better way of doing that I know of right this second. Right. I could potentially create a sub interface that allows, so I say I games repository, which would allow me to better specify that. So what I lose in but it obscures things. It makes you think, oh well, there's a games repository, therefore I can inject another repository. Uh, yeah, by the name of the property. Yeah. You mean this name here? To be honest, I've not used keyed services before. It's not something that I've gone to look at before because I've not needed it. This is the, oh yeah, I do kind of benefit from that sort of behavior, but mm, I don't like it when there's multiple in the same thing. That's not healthy. Oh, goodness me. I've got three of them in this one. Yeah, that's not very readable. Yeah. But I don't like that. It's just too, I don't like calling something games repository because yeah. To me, it's a collection in here that I can reference, right? So Pick my battles, right? That should still build. Luckily, it tries to resolve all the dependencies at the start, so that's why it's failing quickly. It's not like because it's trying to figure that it can get everything. So I just get to pick one over the other. That's all. No, did that fail or did that just? It failed. Yeah. Okay. Um, Share kernel, iRepository, game trove, games, domain and platforms. Error while trying to validate the service. Oh no, that's not good. Map platforms, games application, contracts, platforms, map platforms to IGDB platforms. Okay, so it's just going down the line. Yeah, okay. I just need to. So the fun thing here is some of these services will end up living in different places because I don't want. So the idea of this is I'm stripping away any knowledge of IGDB from my games. So my games data is my games data. There is no third-party integration at all in there. IGDB is IGDB and price charting is price charting. Only at the view side of things do things become um I just did the wrong thing there, didn't I? Debug output. Hold on, that errored, but why didn't you give me the start again? Yeah, only on the views only on the view side am I actually going to combine these pieces of information. So when I link to price charting now, I'm going to go into the price charting API and create the link in there. So I'm kind of flipping the dependencies a little bit. In that my games data, which is the stuff I record based upon actually receiving a game, will not be dependent upon I see it now. Yeah, won't be dependent upon anything other than my games data. And that's because I have a validator and I inject the validator. Yeah. See, if this was property injection, that would be a little less stinky. Um, but yeah, it's fine. But yeah, so I'm trying to kind of flip the responsibilities so that the IGDB side will record the link to my game. And when that publishes a change, it will get caught in the view side of things. So I'm gonna end up get fetch game handler, same problem. It's because it's in a query. I don't want that though. That that's a second. Normally it leaves that sat in there. So even when you stop running, the debug information's there. Pay attention. Hey, Mars. Good morning. Welcome in. Couldn't sleep? No, we're not in here this early. Not that I'm complaining. IGDB application fetch game handler. Okay, so it's the common problem. Been at work since 5:30. Oof. Okay, so this is because this piece here now has that. I mean, the good news is because it's consistent, I can copy and paste it. No, IGDB shared. I can copy and paste that in there. I only need to worry about the named services on things that overlap on their interface style, right? And again, I'm just trying to go for running here. So what I've got to do is I've got to all the query stuff. So once it runs, that's great. But then all the query stuff I need to rebuild in the actual query API. And then figure out all the overlapping IGDB. So the game fetcher. Fetchers. Yes, I called something game fetcher. Yeah. There's probably a cleaner way of doing this, but we'll find out. Unreachable code detected. That's fine. Little fly, go away. Okay. I don't mind bouncing from problem to problem while I'm fixing it this way. It's once the application starts up, I'll be happier. But obviously I could be hunting these down by just looking for iRepository. But at this point, I'd be then looking for even ones without the attribute. So, oh, that looks like it started. Yep, it started. So right now we have the integration services, right? Because the application now contains games, IGDB, price charting, and query. And the application realistically just looks like this. So you say, okay, include games, include IGDB, include price charting, include query. So all those APIs are now included. They can be run independently because I can go in here and the same thing is included here. So this would run. Now, ultimately, I should take all this stuff out and create an extension method that is that. So that I can just say build application and make that a consistent way of doing it. And then you just pass in the extra pieces. So kind of flip this again so that I'm always using the same startup. That would be a way of doing that. But now we have one API. So in theory, if I go to games, add new, if I try and post to that games add endpoint, look at the services Aspire host. Is that Aspire host actually running? Aspire, oh, gRPC failed to start. Let's see. This is still having issues with this cert. Okay, so the application API is started. And if you're new to the stream, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to ask or tell. integration services, query infrastructure services. This is intended to be a separate service, right? This would be running. This is going to run to do the change detection, right? So it is its own program. It could actually be included, if I'm honest, with as a background service of the main application. I just don't know. I don't know what's an acceptable number of background services to be running in there, because other things are running as well. There's a service for a few things, I think. Well, the price charting file service is running, right? So this, when the price charting API starts up, I believe this adds. Oh, that's because that's new. Add infrastructure here. We start. Not really. Also memory cache. Don't need memory cache there, but that's fine. This is. I'm still building this out, right? But the idea would be that this is added when we add. That's the basic infrastructure. Yeah, that's that. Builder.add service infrastructure. No, that's that. Reference price charting integration services. Right. So what that's going to do is add this in, and that should start them as background services. So I could do the same with the query side of things, right? I could create a, well, let's see what it does. Application host builder, extensions, again, making it very obvious what it is. Public static T builder. Add service infrastructure. Return builder. Where T builder is an I host application builder. And then we can do basically this. It's weird because it's an extension to an extension to an extension, but it's fine. It's making it consistent, right? That's all it's doing. So builder.add change monitoring comes in there. And now in here, all we do is say builder.add service infrastructure. So now it can run as its own program, or it can run as something else. And then what we do is we go to Aspire and we remove that in favor of going in here and adding, well, include query API, and query API will do builder.add service infrastructure. Or include service in, what was it? Query infrastructure services, add service infrastructure, yeah. Query infrastructure services. And that should work without circular reference. So now we should have one application API start up and run background services. I don't know, if I'm honest, if there's a limit to what this can do. I've never tested running many background services as part of a site. The goal here is that I can push this to Azure as one service with a couple of databases. That's perfect then, right? Because then I can games application. While attempting to unable to resolve service for games application. What are you trying to resolve? A pricing service. Okay, that's because this doesn't have pricing service. My pricing service is defined in games and not in there. What? Game trove, games domain, iPrice, games application. Oh yeah, that needs to. Yeah, these do not live here anymore. They live over in here. Refactor this, adjust namespaces, yeah. What I learned is that in the name of trying to keep clean code clean, there is a lot of contradictions. And what matters is that you start to become, so the application needs to know when this does the pricing update, etc. This needs to know about there is a concept of this provided, which means this has to provide the contract. It can't reference anything else. Now I could potentially move things to shared here now, right? That would solve that in a weird way, in that everything would point to shared for these things. That would be a solution. It's kind of a shared kernel locally, and then the shared kernel at this level is global. That would clean that up a little bit, in that I wouldn't have references to application, etc. But it just there just seems to be contradictions all over the place to the kind of the directionality of things, and maybe that's just a bit of experience I need. We'll see. But what matters more is I can navigate the code, and I don't create weird circular dependencies. What I was checking there was that I did not have. Yeah, you see, price charting should not have dependency on these. These should be isolated, and that's the problem. Nothing that isn't price charting should be referenced. Right, so I've got something I've got something games and IGDB referenced in here. That's the problem. Dependencies, projects. Yeah, can I remove you? Why are you referencing games shared? Oh, you're not. Okay. So here, reference price charting shared. See, that's why we've got copies. So game copy is included here. But ultimately, I don't want that. I want this to be identifier and price charting ID. And I don't need copies here. Right. Product should live inside of price charting anyway. Yeah. Don't want that. And then it's not the copy here that's associated. So this is where I start to change the actual behavior of the application. So let me go do this. Miro. Miro. There you go. So come on, Miro. There you go. Game trove. My apologies for the bright white screen. Should go. There you go. So games, IGDB, and price charting, they all should point to view query. But what I'm doing is I'm building this as my games library, right? Games API. Center back. Okay, we're just being weird. Yeah, that'll do for now. So these components right? The data from these should flow into the view query, but the individual components should be completely isolated. What it means is my games, I'm trying to figure out how to diagram this in a meaningful way. Games does not require price charting, and games does not require IGDB, right? So a normal way of doing this would be to create a schema that has, oh, well, I know I have price charting, I know I have IGDB, so I'll link, and it's the way it's currently there, right? So in the game tracking database, I have game copies, and game copies has a game copy pricing, which links game copy to price chart ID. So now my data schema has a dependency on a third-party product. I've created that dependency. My price charting data is stored inside of my database. Awesome. But what if price charting goes away? And same for IGDB, by the way. So I've got IGDB game mappings and IGDB platform mappings. So I have a knowledge in my data to those third parties. Not necessarily a bad thing if the third party is always going to be there and you don't ever consider that it could go away or it could change. But what about when it does? What about when IGDB says, oh no, we're going to a paid model, and I say, whoa, I got to remove that dependency. What is the cost? Well, if it's tightly wound into my data, into my decision making, everything else, I have to change my core schema, and I could break data in my core schema by removing those dependencies. I might drop columns, I might break behaviors, etc. But what if my games tracking was just my games tracking? It was the data I knew I could deal with, and that an association to a third-party product was handled in the third-party tracking side of things. So instead of having these dependencies here, they go away, and those dependencies only ever exist once the view is built. Now, I have an ID on anything I link here. So if I link to price charting, why can't the price charting database know about my stuff, right? And the IGDB database know about my stuff as far as referenced identifiers go. So that when I'm compiling the view, I can build the view to contain all the information so it looks to the client side like everything's one thing, but to the server side, my data is isolated from those third-party dependencies. And that way, if my third party changes, if I provide pricing data from somewhere else, there's actually nothing. It's a case of porting over to, let's say we create another third party comes along and their chart pricing, right? I create the integration for them. I create an API for them to interact with my system, to link my system. Then I export this data over to here and then switch out this arrow for this to go to the pricing. And now the pricing is transparent, potentially, right? So that's more feasible and my core data is unaffected. So that's kind of the path I'm heading down here. I'm trying to experiment with that as a design, as an idea, to try and decouple Sorry, that's driving me crazy that it's like it's not there. There we go. Um, yeah, decouple the idea that my data is my data, the price charting data is the price charting data, and I'm capturing the price charting data, right? I'm not saying that this isn't a piece of data that I'm just going to throw away. I'm just saying I don't need to tightly couple it to my actual recorded games data, like what I paid for a game, when I bought it, any notes I had for it, any stuff that's specific to me. But now on the view query side, if I join these all together in a view query way, when I pull the IGDB data and my games data together, I can now say, oh, I want all adventure games, I want all platform games, and I can find that, but I don't have to pull all that IGDB data into my games to do that. So I've got a soft link, and again, I have the opposite the potential to be able to split that data out. I hope that makes sense. And if anyone has any thoughts or opinions on that's a really bad way of doing it, that's that makes sense. Yeah, uh, I would love to. Like, have you done that sort of thing? Um, are you? Uh, have you found pitfalls? Getting copied by see that specification now doesn't make any sense because that's a redundant specification. Um, let's see if it builds. Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. iPricing service, that's fine. You're gonna go away eventually. Projects. So my project references here now. I need to make sure these do not have like price charting API should have no dependencies on anything other than games shared should not be referenced there. Price charting, shared kernel. Yeah, you shouldn't have any dependencies on anything. Yeah, that's the problem. So I think that iCurrent user service needs to live. Where's iCurrent user service? iCurrent user services in games, application contracts. So this one I think needs to move to shared kernel. The concept of the user needs to move out of there and go to there, and then get deleted from there. So that's fine. And then let's refactor that to shared. As long as it doesn't have behavior there, I don't see any problems with that. So that should still function fine. Map using price chart snapshot, that can reference its own thing, but doesn't need to reference my domain entities there. Price chart snapshot, this is all fine. I wish it just removed. Tell me you've got old references. Um, so yeah, has anybody done this sort of thing? Have you tried this design? Have you tried a modular monolith, right? Um, do you okay, product. import type. So product is the so a a price charting has what it refers to as a product because it provides a feed of data, but trading cards or pops, etc., they're all product to price charting. So using the terms they have and then translating it into my terms because that's more meaningful. Like the story I'm telling is I'm taking a product from price charting and mapping it to a game in my system, right? Okay, so now in theory, we can get this to start up. The background services, which I think I need to look at how to build monitors of those things. The background services pretty much sit dormant. This only kicks into life when CDC detects changes. Other than that, it's just looping and asking, hey, have you got anything? And every 10 seconds, it'll check. So they should be able to run without too much cost. So now we should have one API, and that starts up, right? No gateway, no nothing else. Like the application gateway goes away. Okay, some services are not able to be constructed. Price charting, iPricing service, scoped implementation. Unable to resolve type for shared kernel iCurrent service. Okay, so the problem there is iCurrent user service is going to have to be defined at the application level, I think, because yeah, so this is the current user service. I think we need to remove this game API services. Yeah, and I think this needs to go into here. Application API infrastructure. And adjust it. And for right this second, let's do builder dot services that adds scoped I current user service. Right. Because that way we're providing that on startup to everything. Now that breaks that because if we now start the games API or the price chart API, so there's built-in problems with doing it that way, right? Because now these do not have that. So ultimately this needs to be brought out to something that is shared. And then, you know, you get into kind of like, where does that get shared, right? It's not a shared kernel concern. Yeah. Let's see if that runs though. So we're providing the dependencies that need to be done. It should be very obvious anyway. And if this works, I'm not planning on building these out as separate things, but it would be, it's something to question because it would be I can't reference current user service from a games API because the games API is referenced by current user service. Well, I would have a circular reference and that would be bad. This is driving me crazy because something's wrong with the secure certificate. I've trusted the certs multiple times and it's not doing what it should do. But it looks like that's satisfied that desire. Oh no, it hasn't. Value cannot be null. It's a configuration problem. That's not too bad. So program line 67 in application API. So that is the background service for the price charting piece. I have missed something. Yes, I've missed some configuration. Actually, those things go over here. The problem with I've got to check on things every 10 seconds or whatever, right? I've got to wait at least a little while for the application to fail. I don't think that's a new problem for... Oh, value cannot be null parameter path. Price file, monitor service. Options, service scope, get the options, price chart options. Let's have a look. Okay, F10. Options, value. Right, so it's not getting the price chart options. Why? Price charting, pricing, file directory, and filter. Oh, tell me because they're there, they're getting copied over. That would be terrible. Open an Explorer, bin, debug.net. Which version is it copying over is the question. Sorry, I gotta make sure I don't make sure I don't show any API keys. Secrets and stuff should be fine. Ew. Why did I not have them there then? Where did I copy them? Right. I mean, these settings here aren't required for that. They're required for that now. That's fine. But does that merge that in? Let's find out. That's an interesting problem. Which version of the configuration does it pull? Hey, Stony. How you doing? Welcome in. How did you finish up last night? Or this morning for you? Options. Yeah, not there. Like, what version of this does it take is the question. I didn't finish, I gave up. What a quitter. One module. You should not refactor it, just add new code. No, I've broken everything here. So what I was just showing is the dependencies to get all this working, I'm having to do named dependency injections. I've broken all libraries. We're currently up to 166 files. changed. Options, do you have a value? Yay, you do. Awesome. Let's start. You should run now. So it only takes what's in the actual app directory. That is the lesson. No service for type iRepository has been registered. Well, that's because you're doing it wrong. Okay, so get keyed required service. This is an interesting one. And that's going to take constants dot. No. Did you include the Visual Basic thing again? Where the heck is constants? Redefined. Something else has constants somewhere in there. Ugh. Oh well. Let's see if that changes that behavior. I'm basically just building, running, failing, fixing. I find this a more robust method than Control F, and hopefully find what I'm looking for, and hopefully land on the solution. But what I'm doing here is I'm combining all these different APIs into one API as a module, and trying to keep the dependencies able to be, so these in theory will be able to be split out as separate services. What are you waiting for now? What? Change monitoring service. Start monitoring value cannot be null source. Okay. That's going to be a challenge. Because there's very little in my control there. So let's have a look at what CDC extensions does. Oh, monitoring. That's why. Derp. No, it's these do not pull independent configurations, right? Dang it, kind of mystery. Bolans for that. Morning, Doa. No worries. Is it actually any good? Because Borderlands 3 was not a good example. So again, now these background services are starting up. So I've got the change monitoring and I've got the price charting monitor, right? These things are just checking on the presence of things. So they should be pretty lightweight. I don't see them as problems. If they need to be broken out as independent services, then I can do that later without too much. But again, the goal right the second is combine all these into one API and deploy it. I really liked all the bolt-ons. Maybe I'm not impartial enough. 2 was great. 1 was fun. 2 was great. I've played that a few times with my friend. Co-op is awesome there. Borderlands 3, it just felt lacking. And yeah, I'm sure he'll have picked up 4. It's Ranhorn. Good morning. Thank you for 72 months. That's six. Wow. Wow. I have the whole next week off to play Borderlands with my wife. Nice. So it looks like I'm in for some reviews, hopefully. I would love to know what your thoughts are. Um, yeah, like I said, I've got Borderlands 3. I played a little bit of it. I didn't find it very good. I think my friend and I switched over to Wasteland instead of playing Borderlands. Um, nice. Well, it looks like the services are running. So we've got change monitoring happening. Um, yeah. Borderlands 3 just kind of like felt flat compared to 2. Two's humor was good. It was yeah, it was really good. And 3 just didn't feel yeah. Like when you meet Tiny Tina in Borderlands 2, it's just insanity, right? Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't think I played Borderlands 3 in the same way. So maybe I'm just judging what I felt from the first couple of hours. Uh, yeah, it's Tiny Tina was, yeah. Take care, Noah. Have a great day. 3, they were too plentiful. Yeah. Legendary weapons are actually legendary now. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Cool. Okay. So let's get this moving. So the jobs, the background processes are working. I think now's probably a good time to commit this massively over. Uh, right now, I'm using the CDC as a library, by the way, so it's just dropped in as a DLL. I haven't built the package from it, but this code is available if you're interested. Yeah. Do I own Tiny Tina? I probably do. That sounds weird. Yeah. Tiny Tina's Wonderland. Uh, is it in the collection? I'd love to use this, but this is on the floor crying right this second. Um, because the entire query side, I've just completely ripped out everything that's query. I've literally deleted the code from it because now what I have to do is figure out how I'm going to take those CDC things, insert them into a new data store, take the IGDB stuff and merge it in, and then when I get the price charting data, well, no, the price charting data I'm going to create as a separate schema. We'll go into that in a second. That'll help me move things. Borderlands. I have Tiny Tina's Wonderlands on the Xbox. I do not have it on a PlayStation. And 1 and 2 were not launched on consoles, were they? Or is this another one where Amazon doesn't get access to it? This might be another one where Amazon doesn't get access to the game. Oh no, it is there. But 2 was never launched on consoles, was it? Oh, it was PS3. video games. So, yeah, I hope to. Okay, let's go with that. I like playing Borderlands with my friend. He's very good at it, and I like playing a lot of games with him because he understands lore. He gets into it, and I cannot retain lore. So it's just nice to play with someone who understands it, can explain things without me having to worry too much about it. Because, yeah, I for some reason I do not have an ability to take it all on. Yeah. Anyway, let's get this committed. Refactor. Uh, no, this is bigger than that. Shift to modular monolith. To aid in delivering a single API. Moved, created application API. So there's going to be all sorts of conflicts, right? I'm going to have to figure out now proper API routes. All that's going to have to be handled inside of this somewhere. Yeah, I'm gonna have a challenge because I don't know if the fast endpoints piece is worth right now. Created application API and consolidated down services and APIs there. Created. Now, at one point, what I'll do is I'll decide whether I'm ever going to run them as a separate API again and delete the relevant component, delete the program CS files from them, probably, because I think that is a maintenance nightmare, right? Because I've got two options. I either do this consistently where I test each API as its own runnable project and say, okay, well, now I'm testing games API in isolation, or I literally accept that I'm never going to split them apart in their current form and delete all the program CS files so I don't end up with that and the app settings and stuff, so that I don't end up with a oh well I've just changed this, now I need to copy it over here just in case I run it as its own project, etc. So if I can't practice that, if I can't actually put that into a common development practice, then I'll remove it, because it's safer to have to go and figure that out later than it is to have a partial implementation there that may or may not work. Yeah. Create build-out components to support configuration, shifted to keyed services for repositories. Commit and push. So all this is what I'm considering part of adding the CDC. It's basically a shift to this view thing. Yeah, imagine that as a PR. Again, if you are new to the stream, if you want to ask any questions, if you have any opinions on what I'm doing, if you think this is a terrible way to design the software, I would love to know your opinions. I'm not looking for, I'm not trying to garner criticism. I'm just trying to see if other people have done this sort of thing and if they've hit any pitfalls. Yeah, it'd be good to know. Okay, so I think I need to test that I can actually create something. That's going to be a big thing. So how do we do that? Oh, we can't do that. I need to be able to log in, but I can't log. Liquid Sky. Hey, Tommy. It's going well. I might actually have my application up and running again. Thank you for the follow, Thirsty. Mr. Big Rich Streamer. Big Rich Streamer. Far from that. Oh no. I gotta take that off. I've gotta take that off because yeah. I'm gonna distract it, it's fine. I get the derail. Hey Loke. I need doggo cam. They'll probably sit around it. Loki went out and Taylor was fast asleep. Actually snoring, so 1 second, I'm gonna mute it so I can shout. There we go. Come here, buddy. Come here. This. Come here. Come here. Come here. Not the smartest, are you? Come here. Taylor. Nope. They do not want to play. I do not hate my dogs. Mr. Jones, good morning. Come here, bud. Come here. What's this? Come here. Come here. Come here. Get it. Get it. Get it. I'll go see if I can get him on the camera. Come here, buddy. There you go. There's Loki. What ID is this? This is Ryder. Well, this is Webstorm. This is Ryder. No, these are actually food grade treats. Come here, come here. Oh, he sat down because he thought he had to do something to deserve it. Taylor, Taylor, come here. Taylor, come here. Never mind. She's like, I'm not moving. See, what I need to do is I need to get an area set up so I can have a cam on. Thoughts on VS Code? VS Code's good. I mean, to me, it's a little bit too much in the direction of Visual Studio in that it's kind of an everything tool. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Let's give your sister another one. There you go. That's Taylor's. That's Taylor's, buddy. Come here. I gotta see if you're on the camera. I gotta see if you're on the camera. Right? What's this? You're a good boy. You're a good boy. So patient. This is your sister's. That's it. 3 treats, bud. Yeah, VS Code isn't bad. I've also tried Ryder's JetBrains Fleet, and it's not bad. I think I prefer it to VS Code, but I don't like the everything tool. Yeah. Yeah. What do you use, Thirsty? You can't tell me if VS Studio is so awful. We're supposed to use it at work. I said to them, "Oh no, should use more Clank code." Visual Studio. I mean, I can say Visual Studio 2026 does open Liquid Sky as quickly as Rider. It didn't. VS 2022 did not. So it does open 93 projects in it took 10 seconds the first time, and then subsequent loads were like 3 seconds. Um, if you don't use Linux plus NeoVim, you're really a coder. Hey bud, you okay? Hello. Don't want to come and sit up today? Want to come sit? Come on, come on. I'll let you crawl up. Come on. Yeah, you weighed down by all those cookies, huh? Hello, bud. What? 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 Um, Vim and Jupyter Notebook mostly. The most I use to use Studio, but VS Code ends up breaking when I try to use it. Hmm. If you're doing um, stuff that you're not going to make commercial, Rider is available to use on stuff, but you can't do anything commercial with it. Just a software engineer. VS Code terminal always breaks for me. um, if you need to edit code, you should rethink your career. It's the only proper way. If you need to correct something, you're already bad. We were talking earlier in the stream about refactoring code bases. So I'm going to try and move the microphone so that I can actually talk and feel that I'm being heard. um, that was a good derail, Stoney. We were talking earlier in the stream. What I would like to do is maybe find a code base that's been AI generated by someone who's not experienced in building software, but has used the AI tools in the way that we're all scared of people using the AI tools, and try and refactor that. See what it actually created and how we would design that code differently, how we would take it and how far off it was from good. I've seen enough AI generated code at this point to realize that if you don't know what you're asking for, um, if you don't know what you're asking for, the code generation is very, very scary because it will give you what you want, but it might not work. Bug fixing, refactoring is a hoax. Bug fixing is a hoax. You shouldn't have bugs in the first place. Um, yeah, I actually saw someone say that yesterday. Thank you for the follow, Diab. Welcome in. Apologies to the lack of code right this second. Back as a freshman in college, I asked my CS professor what refactoring was, and he couldn't tell you. Wow. Wow. Okay. Yeah. What's the matter, bud? What do you need? You had 3 cookies. I think those cookies, by the way, Stony, were like sweet potato or something like that. They are human grade, and they smell delicious. But I'm not eating them. It wasn't worth teaching. Uh, yeah. So what I've just done with this is I've just taken out what were individual APIs. I've pulled out all, so one of the things I didn't like was when I was in the application, I have command here, right? I don't like the idea of command and query living here. So query is its own thing now. What I've just done is completely destroyed everything query about my application, which means I can't run the client because the client will be busted. And I've got to now figure out how to restructure all this stuff into this query piece and then get the data. So I created the CDC piece to hook in, and what will happen is as I change data in the database, these will fire, and um, not in real time, they're slightly delayed, but they'll fire, and that'll give me the ability to now insert that into the query side, and now I can query that data out. So I am building up that command query side of the query side of that command query. Price charting is a SQL database back thing, but IGDB is a Mongo map thing. So this is going to be an interesting challenge. How do I figure out how to link IGDB data, and what do I use for query? Do I combine everything into Mongo and create objects, or do I create a SQL database and structure it that way? I'm also going to use schemas to separate the data rather than individual databases like I do with Liquid Sky. Again, building a project with the intent of practicing the styles, the ideas, the designs. What can I do? How can I do it differently than I did it last time? So that I start to, well, I continue to evolve what I consider as good. Um, Refactoring to me is moving old code to new patterns. It's like that last step everybody should do when they write code. Write it, make it work, clean it up. I don't think we do enough of the cleaning up. No. Um, and that goes to, something I'm always saying, right, about fear. You shouldn't be scared of your code. If you're scared of your code, that's a bad sign. You need to get over that. At 24 that's what your prof should have answered. um, yeah, don't be scared of your code. Um, if you don't feel confident in moving something around or deleting something, um, it's it's not healthy. Um, yeah, and rename things. Although everyone is just jumping in with stupid answer for stupid detail. um, I did genuinely pause. I had that moment of my brain just going like, hold on, how does someone who's teaching CS not at least have an answer for refactoring? Um, that's what you're gonna end up with, right? If you can't even, I mean, the fact that like it just stuns me. But yeah, um, academia is a hell of a drug. Mm. Um, I don't know how we improve our professional standards as developers if we can't even, the people that go through the education system aren't able uh to be trained to a decent standard because you don't have the capabilities. Well, I'm self-taught. I didn't go to school for software development. Um, this is just uh, you know, decades of doing it, right? If anyone's interested, if you want to see this code, become a teacher and be the change. I don't think I'd be a good teacher. Technically, I'm an electrical engineer. That's what I wanted to be. That's actually how I started. Um, I went to school, clearly also self-taught. Yeah, you went to school and the education system let you down on that one. So you have to go off and figure it out yourself. Yeah. Proceed. Sorry. Okay. Um, at school, you learn how to learn. And living here in Ireland, I always get the shivers whenever I had to open some wall plugs. What is that set tool here in Ireland is just bad. It's probably there aren't more electrical fires here. Well, having owned a house uh, that was, yeah, I think it actually was put together with uh, hope. Um, yeah, the US has similar problems, I would imagine. To be fair, he kind of is a teacher already. He has good practices and a ton of knowledge about architect software. Eh, I wouldn't say I have a ton of knowledge about architect. I think I have evolved my uh, what I like and what I don't. Um, um, yeah. So, okay, that's built out. What I now need to figure out is what it should look like, right? So, um, the goal here again, if you haven't, let me say this right. Right now, games has price charting and IGDB links in it. Price charting has the pricing. IGDB is the actual game information. What I want is the ability to say, hey, I want all platformers, or I want all adventure games, or I want all whatever, and be able to do that from this query side. I can't do that without joining this data into my games database and making a mess and whatever. So I've got this IGDB cache as a separate, this is the IGDB, the objects from IGDB cached on the way through, but I want to do that better. So game copy pricing is my link to price charting ID. I want that table gone. Price charting snapshot and snapshot history, I want them gone. And IGDB platform and mappings, I want them gone. So that my data, the stuff I have, is only this. Now, platforms is a bit of an interesting one because platforms, I actually want to flip that and use IGDB's platforms primarily and have me able to look that up. That might not be able to get rid of immediately, but we'll figure that out. Um, I wanted to be a computer engineer and physicist. Couldn't get into PhD program, so now I do SCADA. I don't know what SCADA is. Cluj, keep up the good work. Thank you. Welcome in. Hopefully you are good. If you are on YouTube and you're watching, don't forget to drop a like if you're enjoying what you're seeing. Putting likes on videos in YouTube makes all the difference to discoverability. Interaction, chat, etc., does make a lot of difference to YouTube videos. I have seen that trend play out. Does Mongo have views? I'm not sure if Mongo has views, if I'm honest. I haven't thought to look in that direction because I kind of consider an object, a NoSQL DB as kind of best suited to that sort of creating a view, right? Um, Nobody knows what SCADA is. That's why I still have to still get to have a job. Is it an acronym? If I had to guess anything, I'd say software science and data analysis, but that would be an absolute guess. And I have no ability to type right this second, so that's why I'm talking a little bit more, because I have a 50-pound dog lying across both legs. Thank you, Stony. Data collection from hardware. Ooh, that sounds like something Rambling Geek would be interested in. Um, yeah. So what I need to figure out now is how do I move these things around, right? So the price chart data, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new schema, and this is going to be price charting. Nothing says I have to make this small, as far as I'm aware, right? And in this price charting schema, I'm going to, can I, that'd be awesome. Can I do this? Ooh. supervisory control and data acquisition. Ooh, the layer on top of controls, monitoring the power at data centers. Nice. Sounds sounds impressive. Okay, so we take the snapshot and we'll do the same with price chart and snapshot history, right? So now our pricing data is actually stored in a different place, right? Oh, over in the code, you got to forgive me. I'm gonna have to type everything one-handed. The time has come. I have to drop off. Thanks for the stream. Apex, thank you very much for coming and hanging out. You, um, hold on. why, why did Twitch not make it really easy to? Yeah. If you're not aware of Apex, Apex is also a streamer, builds a game on stream that he's been building. He's got these cards working, his framework of the game structure is starting to come together, and it's very fascinating to see that growth. Um, and it's a nice chill stream to go and hang out in. And if I could actually use both hands, thank you, dog. There you go. I was about to. I was about to, but what I was saying is, I really wish Twitch would give you the right clickability on a user to say, "Hey, uh, um, empower them." Do you have to save that? No, there you go. You should have. I can do slash mod as well. I know that, but yeah, Ohm's law. Can you refactor Ohm's law? I was in stealth mode today. No worries. If I could trust anyone, it would be you. But now you actually technically now have two mods just by one person. So no, actually not technically. Okay, so obviously I'm not doing very much towards the end of the stream here, but I've got a lot more to do. What I need to do over here to accommodate that, what the change I just made there, this context now obviously is going to be wrong because the where I'm pulling this data from is incorrect. So what you can do is you can do as default schema. Oh, give me my hand back. There you go. Has default schema price charting. So if I go over here and I delete that and I delete that, I don't use foreign keys. This is one of the advantages of not using foreign keys. I have implied foreign keys, but I do not have actual foreign keys. So one of the advantages of doing that is that I can just drop those tables and not have those cascading problems from that, right? So game copy pricing, I have to leave there right this second. That dependency is going to get flipped as well. So that the price charting database will have knowledge of my game identifier, but it will not have knowledge of games, like actual games. It'll just have a pricing model. Hello, Loki. Am I disturbing you, buddy? Huh? Am I disturbing you? I'm sorry. I keep talking. I know. So I like the fact that when I started playing with Loki, more people came into the stream. So, okay, so that's running, right? That's still running. So moving those tables over, that didn't cost me anything. So the next step is I might move IGDB into SQL. The problem is that I have to map it then, right? That's where I always feel resistance. Missing the puns. Oh, John. Okay. Anyway, yes. If you're not following Canny is a multi-talented developer. Um, you're such a bad thing talking like that. Poor dog. The poor dog. These dogs are spoiled, right, bud? When I order breakfast and stuff, I order them their own bacon. Just so they get some of the breakfast. Where we're 1 second. They know it's time. Um, okay. Okay, okay, okay. Well, um, if I move IGDB in there and I kind of map IGDB objects, um, then I'll be able to use CDC to track everything. Because right now, nothing's necessarily broken. I do need to reapply the CDC stuff because obviously these two here now need unmapping from CDC and reapply. Taylor, give me a second. Yeah, so that's the way that's going to work. So I just need to redo that a little bit. So what I'll probably do is disable CDC, drop it, re-enable it, and then add these in there. And what that'll allow me to do is track the changes to these schemas so that when I add a game, etc., I'll be able to say, oh, I actually care about that one. And now that needs to go into price charting as you know, or goes into the view query, the view schema. Although I'm still yet to decide whether I want to do it in Mongo, so that I can kind of combine. Oh, well, I've got price chart data, I've got game data. Let's update this object. Yeah, so there's all sorts of other stuff to do here, but it's a good experiment. In Liquid Sky, I achieved this with Kafka. Here, I'm going to try and use the tools in SQL to do it in real time and create that modular monolith. So yeah, but cool. Anyway, it is turned 9 o'clock. I do have a full-time job that I think they would appreciate me, hanging out for. So let us go and raid over to Maybe. So if you're not aware of Maybe is a great streamer. Really good hangout. And yeah, the dogs own him actually. Yes, they do. And Frank, I didn't see you start stream today, so my apologies, but I got to raid out. If you're not following Frank, I highly recommend it. He's a talented .NET developer, builds several projects on stream. Oh, I'm sorry to hear you're sick, but go and give him a follow. Normally streams on Fridays right now. I don't know if that's ever changing, but streams on Fridays, and it is a really great place to go and hang out. It's nice and chill, and Frank's just a cloud specialist, and does all sorts of stuff related to that. So yes. Anyway, we're gonna go raid Maybe. Thank you for coming joining me. Thank you for hanging out today. Appreciate it. Thank you for the chat. I will be back on Monday. Streams are going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from now on. And I will do more of this over the weekend. And hopefully, come Monday, the app will be up and running again. You'll get to see the games collection stuff, and we can start to do some more searches and stuff. So yeah. So thanks for joining me. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you very much. Bye all.